Have you ever received a message so short it quietly ended a chapter of your life? I sat in my car for 11 minutes after my shift, badge still hanging from my neck, staring at my phone. A 14-second voicemail. My mother's voice, polished, controlled, distant. We're moving forward as a family, and that no longer includes you. Don't reach out. Silence. Timestamp. That was it. No explanation, no hesitation. And the strangest part, I didn't cry. I noticed the hum of the fluorescent lights. A forgotten grocery bag near a pillar, the stillness in my hands. I replayed the message. Then again. And somewhere in that second replay, something clicked. This wasn't sudden. This had been building for years. She hadn't just rejected me. She had finally said out loud what the last decade had already proven. I typed one word, understood. Then I went home, made tea I didn't drink, and sat long enough to realize something unsettling. What would happen if I simply stopped showing up? My name is Delia Marsh. I'm 36 and I work in healthcare compliance, tracking where money is supposed to go and where it actually ends up. It's quiet, meticulous work. To my family, it was irrelevant until they needed it. Because over time, I became something else entirely. Not a daughter. Infrastructure. I handled the details no one else wanted to understand. Fixed financial mistakes. Reviewed contracts. Quietly corrected problems that would have cost them far more if left alone. And then came the move. They told everyone it was a fresh start. Downsizing. What they didn't say was how fragile it really was. They needed the house sale to fund the next purchase. Every step depended on timing, accuracy, stability. And against my better judgment, I agreed to help, not as an owner, just as a verified contact. Access to accounts, document reviews, communication oversight, administrative trust, the kind you give when you think you belong. Until Wednesday night. By Thursday morning, I stepped back. No arguments, no confrontation, just action. I withdrew as verification contact, revoked authorization, flagged shared credentials, notified the accountant, clean, documented, final, and then I waited. Because here's the question, have you ever removed one support and watched everything start to shift? By noon, the closing was on hold. By afternoon, contractors paused work. And then I learned something that stopped me cold. My grandmother. They had already arranged her move into a care facility. And that facility was now asking for payment verification. Because the funding wasn't secure. Which meant one thing, they had built everything on the assumption I'd still be there to hold it together. By 2 p.m., I had 6 missed calls. My father. First voicemail calm. There may have been a miscommunication. Second, urgent. We need this resolved today. I saved them, went back to work. That evening, my sister called, not to ask what happened, but to tell me what I'd done wrong. How could you do this now? I almost responded. Then I read my mother's transcript again, calculating, disloyal, destructive, and in the same breath, fix it. No acknowledgement, just outrage that I had taken her seriously. 2 days later, 54 missed calls, then a message from a lawyer. Urgent matter, requires response tonight. I replied with 7 words. You said to move forward, I have. And for the first time, I let them sit in silence. The next morning, the truth started surfacing. My father had hidden business debt. My sister had drained a joint credit line. The house had undisclosed repair issues. They weren't downsizing. They were outrunning exposure. And worse, my name was still being used, presented as if I were involved. That's when it stopped being emotional and became professional. I documented everything. Voicemail, emails, timestamps, not to fight, to protect. That afternoon, my mother called again. How dare you embarrass this family? Not harm, not consequences, embarrassment. You owe us cooperation, she said. Oh, that word settled everything. Because suddenly, the pattern was clear. Everything I had done wasn't valued. It was expected. Then came the invitation, a donor event. My mother, described as a devoted caregiver navigating a difficult transition. She wasn't managing the situation. She was rewriting it. So I went. The room was polished, controlled, comfortable. She saw me, everything shifted. Why are you here? I was invited into the version of events you've been sharing. She tried to move me aside, too late. People were already watching. She said I had created a crisis. I asked calmly, "Do you mean my credentials or the ones you kept using after telling me not to contact you?" Silence. Then she grabbed my arm. Visible. That was the mistake. A board member stepped closer. And I said, clearly, I withdrew from all involvement in writing with full documentation after being told not to contact them. I can provide records if needed. That was it. No drama, just facts, and the room shifted. I left before it unraveled, but it did. The sale collapsed. The new property was lost. The care facility withdrew my grandmother's placement. My mother was asked to step back from her foundation role. Trust doesn't recover quietly. I placed my grandmother somewhere safe, not impressive, just real. When my mother found out, "You've humiliated this family." That word again. Humiliation, not care, not concern, just optics. Weeks later, I submitted a formal timeline, precise, clean. It separated my name from everything that followed, permanently. She asked for one last meeting. I went. She spoke about loss, stress, everything except accountability. Then finally, "Can this be repaired?" I answered simply. "You told me not to contact you. I respected that. You continued using what I built. That's why it collapsed." Silence. "You can't repair this with me. You can only live with it." My father asked, "Is that permanent?" Yes, because it always had been. They just hadn't realized it yet. That fall, I bought my own place. Signed a loan, fluorescent lights. A notary, a cheap pen, no audience, just my name. People think self-preservation looks like victory. It doesn't. It looks like quiet, like boundaries, like finally putting down weight that was never yours to carry. So I'll ask you, if people built their lives on your reliability, then decided they didn't need you, would you go back to prove your worth? Or would you finally let them learn what it costs to lose you? Backhand index pointing right. If this story hit harder than expected, consider subscribing. Because sometimes the most important lessons aren't loud, they're just finally clear.